was possible, the officers were there to assist OPA in serving Buckingham the penal summons if and when he arrived. While I waited to see what would happen, the officers stood by me the entire time and ordered me repeatedly to step back, but would not give me any grounds for the order. After a few minutes, Ogumoro and Nakaibis emerged from the vehicle with luggage that they transferred to the trunk. The officers moved towards me once again, and another order was issued. Happened quickly. I heard doors slam and footsteps rushing towards me. The Buckinghams emerged from the gray vehicle, flanked by Ogumoro and Nakaibis, and at the same time, the officers in front of me closed in and began pushing me back.
Counsel, if you go further, I think there's a follow-up to that, another video footage. You know what? It had to do with the FBI agents, but since maybe what we'll do is we'll continue on with the testimony, and we can show the other one when the witnesses are present. Yes. But nevertheless, we will go ahead and continue with the testimony and questioning of our witness. Yes. Joe, I think we already saw that.
Friday, when OPA began trying to serve the AG the summons, the following morning when the AG was finally served at the airport by federal agents called upon by OPA to assist. Hasselback said Buckingham did everything possible to evade service of the court order and even obtained an armed police escort to take him to the airport Saturday morning. That avoidance served as the basis for new charges filed today, including one more count of misconduct in public office and one additional count of obstruction of justice. Hasselback said Buckingham didn't deserve the generosity of a continuance, and said the court's only recourse was to issue the arrest warrant and reject representation by the AG's office for a criminal defendant. In issuing the bench warrant, Wiseman said he found it extremely disturbing for the AG to treat the court with such blatant indifference. The judge said Buckingham had no justifiable excuse for not appearing today, and the court would not tolerate open and willful defiance of its orders, especially from an attorney. Bernberg asked the court to hold the bench warrant in abeyance for 30 days, but Wiseman declined. He issued the warrant for Buckingham's arrest in the amount of $50,000 cash. start with those crucial seconds just before the Buckinghams got out of a gray 4Runner parked on the curb at the airport, a vehicle that, we were told, belonged to the governor's driver and security aide, Jermaine Nakaifis. Mr. Buckingham. Here's some of that video again in slow motion, and a shot of the Buckinghams guarded by Nakaifis and Public Safety's Deputy Commissioner Ambrosio Okomoro moving towards the glass doors leading to the departure terminal. The Buckinghams disappeared up the ramp to airport security. Then, Okomoro and a ports police captain came out.
Excuse me.
Why is this
Excuse me.
Sir, there's a parent coming up.
I don't know about that.
Has he been Okomoro and the ports police captain headed to the gray vehicle on the curb and came back carrying what appeared to be the Buckingham's luggage. Police would not allow KSPN to enter the departure area through the glass doors, nor even from the other side. We confirmed that at this point, Buckingham still hadn't been personally served his summons. OPA investigators were in the ports police office, on the phone and talking to ports officers. At the time, one officer told KSPN off camera that the ports authority didn't know anything about the summons. Later, however, we were told that CPA police had actually declined to issue the summons despite an OPA request for assistance, and that OPA investigators were not allowed access to the departure area. Then sometime around 4 a.m., the FBI showed up at OPA's request. After about 20 minutes in the office, the agents emerged and went straight for the departure terminal. One agent carried the summons in his hand. Witnesses told KSPN the Buckinghams were in the VIP lounge at the terminal, guarded by Okomoro, Nakaifis, and Ports Police Chief Jordan Kosa. The three officers had tried to lock the lounge to prevent anyone from entering, but were told they could not do so according to airline policy, so at least one officer, we're told it was Kosa, stood on guard outside. When the FBI agents arrived at the lounge with the summons in hand, the officers allegedly tried to stop them. We don't have details of the exchange that happened then, but we do know that some 20 minutes after the agents went up the ramp to look for the AG, they came back out with no summons in hand. Buckingham had been served. Vehicles seen on Saturday were purchased through federal grants, including this vehicle with license plate number 3945 that's marked Human Trafficking Response Team, and this truck with license plate number 3628, which was purchased through a boating safety grant. We have yet to verify the source of funding for this truck with license plate number 3917, but it appeared to be a fairly new model, and we're told it's most likely federally funded, as the Department of Public Safety has not procured new vehicles using local funds in years. As of press time, we're still trying to verify to whom this unmarked vehicle, a gray Toyota 4Runner with tinted windows, is registered. The license plate number reads ACN 943. We're told that the Buckinghams rode in this vehicle that morning along with their luggage, and that it was driven by the governor's driver, security aide, and former ports police captain, Jermaine Nakaifis. A manila envelope seen on the dashboard reads, quote, for AG at Buckingham, end quote. Nakaifis and Deputy Police Commissioner Ambrosio Okomoro had accompanied the Buckinghams into the departure terminal that morning. Then, just after sunrise, when the Buckingham 6 a.m. flight to Narita had taken off, the officers outside the airport got into their marked police vehicles and drove away. Only this gray 4Runner remained when KSPN left the scene at about 6:30 a.m.
Thank you, Council. You can turn on the lights now. We can, Mr. Hunter, I'm now going to open the going to open it up for questions from the members.
Chair, privilege.
Representative De La Cruz.
Yeah, before we entertain that, I would like to ask the subpoena duces TCOM that you had requested from Mr. Chris Nelson. I believe requested raw video footage. Apparently what we've just viewed are the edited news report videos with regards to the incident that had taken place in the early morning hours. I would like to again request that you ask KSPN for the raw footage of the incident. I believe that most, if not all of us, have already viewed these footages in the past.
Thank you. Just to respond, Rep. Guerrero, to respond to that, you are correct. As I see the information regarding the subpoena duces TCOM, we did ask KSPN for raw video footages and edited footages, and I think what we were viewing was the edited footages. So under discussion, Rep. Guerrero.
Yeah, I agree with Representative De La Cruz. I think we should see the unedited version. I don't see that this has any strong collaboration with Mr. Hunter's testimony. I'm sorry, Glen, I cannot see you in any part of the video or any what do you call that, pushing or violence towards the reporter Tina Sablan. So perhaps we would be able to look on the raw footage, and that would give us perhaps a more clear-cut visual of this.
Thank you. We do not need to issue another subpoena to that effect, so if there's no objection from the members, the chair would write a letter to KSPN and ask that we be provided with the raw footage, since that was already a part of the original subpoena. Did you want to respond to this, Mr. Hunter?
Yes, just a little bit. I think just to the two things that you just mentioned. One is, you're correct, I'm not in any of that video footage physically. I'm not seen. I am heard. If you listen to the end as Tina's getting pushed and manhandled back, that's why the camera was flying all around. So when you say she wasn't attacked, she was. That's as you notice, the camera is clear and simple and smooth until the Buckinghams exit the vehicle and go in, and then she's pushed back. That's when the camera jumps all over. They need to slow down the footage for the editing. On the raw footage, you'll see it all go through. But at the end of that, you do hear me say, "Are you okay?" That's my voice coming from where the Buckinghams were going through. In the raw footage, it would go on to show you much more. I do show up on that. But just to let you know that I am contained in that video, but it's a distant, "Are you okay?" That's when I first came around the corner, as I said in my testimony. Buckinghams were getting pulled through the door. You can see that in the footage. They get pulled through the door with the police escort, and then I come around that corner from the departure area, and you hear me on the tape say, "Are you okay?" That's the first part. That's my first reaction when I saw her being pushed back and assaulted. That's when I said, "Are you okay?" I followed that up with another, "Are you okay?" To which, of course, nobody knows who I am, where I'm coming from, so they didn't react, and that's when I shouted a little bit louder from the distance I was at while I moved forward, and I said, "Will you please stop harassing my wife?" So again, I ask that you take my testimony as sworn under oath, as providing an eyewitness account, but I am at the tail end in that video. So if you ever get a chance to rewatch it, you'll hear it. "Are you okay?" That's my voice.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. As I said, and Council, please take note, we will prepare a letter to KSPN asking for the raw footages. Representative Stanley Torres, and then Representative Tony Sablan.
Just to, before the Council start drafting the letter, did KSPN respond that they did not include the raw footage? sending it to us?
Rep, it is unclear at this point if there wasn't a response. In addition to the footages, my understanding is all we got was a copy of this CD. That's all we got at this point. But because we did subpoena for the raw, unedited footage, we did not get that. I will follow up with a letter. Anything else? Representative Torres?
Include, if they decide not to send it to us, I ask KSPN to explain, what makes them not to answer the request.
So noted, Council. Please take note of that in our letter. We would ask that. Representative Sablan.
Thank you, Chairman. The point that Representative Guerrero was trying to make is that asking on video footage that shows the pushing of reporter Sablan. As a camera person, you don't take video footage of yourself. You're trying to get a video footage of what's happening around yourself. However, I hope that our subpoena to the system of the video footage of the security cameras from CPA would be provided, or if they have been provided, would show footage of the area where the incident or the immediate area prior to the entrance of the departure area on the left side that leads immediately to up the ramp, because that's where the incident that we just witnessed on video occurred, and I hope, I don't know whether the committee has been provided footage from CPA of that general area, but I think that would help answer the concern of Representative Guerrero.
In response, yes, I have video footage, raw and unedited, including from Aquarius Hotel footage and the from CPA. I think these footages came from OPA though. OPA responded to this committee that that they will not provide footages from the airport because of security reasons, and that it is an issue with TSA, I believe, and that they have sent a letter to TSA asking that can these footages be released. But we do have the video footages, and I was gonna also instruct the whoever the right person is to prepare copies of all these video footages so that each member may be provided a copy, that they can review it on their own time. With that, let us move forward and now continue with the questioning now for Mr. Hunter. Members? Fred? Mr. Guerrero?
Let's see. Mr. Hunter, you said you had received a tip in the morning that the Buckingham was leaving, right? Who tipped you?
I'd not like to reveal that source because then I would never get the sources again. So even in executive session, I wouldn't reveal that. I'd just plead my right not to reveal that information. I don't think it has a big bearing on the case either, and I'd also like to, can I expand a little bit on my answer to that question, because I think I might have generated a tangent, and I might have generated a side battle, a battle that I personally am engulfed in, and that's the battle of what the officials did to myself and my partner Tina. That's a grave concern to me, but for the committee purposes here, I think what might be of most importance or paramount importance is the protection of the AG from receiving a summons, and I think that's inexcusable, and I think that should be the primary concern. While my concern is great, and of course in my mind it's paramount to me personally, just something to keep in mind. I hope I didn't generate like a separate way we're going here, where we're looking at myself and how I was treated and how Tina was treated as being like the overbearing issue contained in that article. And I don't think those 3 articles are more concerned with the AG's escape from the CNMI and escape from justice. And I think that's where we need to really put the most focus is on why they would have been ordered to protect him, to escape from justice rather by law enforcement officers that are supposed to like be enforcing justice. I don't know if that makes sense, but just something I wanted to add to that. Thanks. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. And before I recognize you, Mr. Guerrero, Representative Guerrero, I do want to remind the members that the purpose for the subpoenas and for this investigative committee is to confirm whether or not the allegations as listed under Article 4, 6, and 11 have any factual basis to them, so that we can deliberate on those articles at a later point. But for the members, just to refresh the members, let me just summarize what these articles are. Article 4 again has all 3 articles, 4, 6, and 11 have to do with the Attorney General being escorted by law enforcement personnel. But specifically, Article 4 has to do with theft of services, whether or not the use of government personnel and vehicles and other resources was or did occur, which gave the former Attorney General an illegal benefit. Article 6 has to do with corruption, whether in fact Mr. Buckingham did receive an illegal benefit by being escorted or guarded. And the third one is neglect, Article 11, and that was that the governor failed to ensure that DPS properly served the warrant. So our question should be relevant to those articles. Thank you, and go ahead, Representative Guerrero.
Mr. Hunter's not answering the question. I don't think it's a privilege. You know, I think that it's a question that needs to be answered just to tie in the entire relevance of his testimony.
Counsel, can you give us some can you respond to Representative Guerrero's point?
Chairman, can he restate his question?
I believe Representative Guerrero wanted to know the source of Mr. Hunter's information when he got tipped. Wanted to know who tipped Mr. Hunter, and I guess Mr. Hunter has pleaded the fifth and refused to answer. Counsel, you can correct us first to answer whether the witness can plead the fifth, or should he answer the question. I would take the position that perhaps questions that are relevant to determining whether the articles that is listed is that we can get, what do you call this, factual basis, then it may be warranted, but I leave that up to discussion, and I wanted to get the council's a response to that before I entertain. Council, are you ready?
Likewise, Chairman, I think John and I are in agreement that if the committee believes, and maybe it's up to a vote, that this line of questioning is in fact relevant, then you can take a vote, and if you do deem it relevant, then we can address Mr. Hunter's assertion of a privilege. I like to take it in that order, because if you don't believe it's relevant and there's enough votes to say it's not relevant, then we don't have to look at the legal grounds.
Thank you. Before we go there, I'll go ahead and entertain Mr. Sablan.
Thank you, Chairman, and that's where I was leading to, that the source of the information that the Buckinghams are departing the CNMI is irrelevant, whether the incident that's caught on video and the testimony that's witnessed by Mr. Hunter at the airport has no relevance. What relevance does the tip that the Hunters are departing the CNMI have to do with what happened at the airport? I want to raise the issue up and let's put it to a vote. And I beg the good colleague from Precinct 5 to provide a justified explanation on why the disclosure of the information that the Buckinghams were leaving that morning is relevant to what occurred at the airport.
Oh, it could be relevant in many different ways. It could be perhaps somebody who has a grudge, somebody who has something perhaps against it. It could be somebody that we can also subpoena in to get information from also. It's endless. I mean, if you're going to try to find out why was he there to witness it in the first place? Because he got a tip. Okay, who gave you the tip? You're not a news person.
Yeah, but Chairman, if I may, but the fact that he was there had no reason, or is not the cause for what happened at the airport. That the agent was escorted from his vehicle or from a vehicle through the departure area. It has no relevance on the source. You mean to tell me that because Mr. Hunter received information that the Buckinghams were leaving that morning, that's why the escorts were there, or that's why the Buckinghams were sealed it, or that's why the reporter that was on site was physically touched. I don't want to say abused because I don't know the magnitude of the personal contact. But I just don't see the relevance of the connection on the source of information being the cause for what happened at the airport.
In essence, you can say he's on this particular issue. He is biased, especially because of his belief that the governor should be impeached. Okay, what we're trying to test here is his credibility. We cannot just take it for granted. The proof should show in everything that everybody is giving us, every information. I don't think I'm asking anything out of the ordinary. I think it's fair to ask, where did he get that information?
Mr. Chairman, if I may again respond, I still don't get the connection. What's the truth have to do with where he got the information? We have viewed the video footage up there. We subpoenaed Mr. Hunter over here today, to appear today, to give his testimony in regards to his best recollection on what transpired that evening or early morning hours, and we are gonna get hung up on how does he know that the Buckinghams were leaving that morning? Mr. Chairman, if we require that we move for a vote on in regards to having Mr. Hunter compelled to disclose his source, he's already made his opinion known on that request, and I think we should honor it.
And before we go to vote, I think Mr. Hunter wants to respond, but before I do so, I think the Vice Speaker also raised her hand.
No, I was just going to ask that to expedite our discussion, just go ahead and put it to a vote.
Thank you, Vice. Before I do so, go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, my response was in regards to my credibility being the issue being raised, in my opinion, on the impeachment of Fitial. I just want to let you know that what I'm providing today is testimony that I saw as an eyewitness at the airport. What circumstances led me to the airport? I don't think I'm the one on trial here. I don't think I'm the one being questioned. I wasn't fleeing the CNMI. I wasn't using a DPS armed guard to do so. I wasn't harassing people to keep them away from seeing that. So I think, again, another tangent's being drawn again by saying that by my failure to reveal a source that I would never have again in the future would have any bearing on this. Your concerns aimed at me should be what I saw of those in regards to those 3 impeachment articles of impeachment, and that is that Buckingham fled the CNMI using a DPS armed guard to keep him from receiving a subpoena. To me, that's impeachable. So yeah, I'm biased. I think that's impeachable. I would hope after you guys reveal it and you look at all the evidence, it's impeachable to you as well. But what circumstances led me to being at the airport, I don't see how that's relevant at all, and I'm glad you're going to take a vote on it. But I could have been jogging that morning. I could have been leaving on a plane. I go back and forth constantly. That's one other thing I wanted to share with you guys today. My level of fear since that incident has been so heightened that I have physical proof, and I'll send it to you via email, that I was supposed to leave. This happened on Saturday morning, early morning. I was scheduled to leave to Palau on Wednesday. I had a confirmed ticket purchased and everything and set to go for business purposes. Because of my level of fear for my loved one, because of this incident happening, I canceled that. I have that as well. So I have documented proof of my fears. Now, why I was there that morning, I could have been there checking a friend. I could have been there talking to Gordon. I could have been there talking to anyone. It doesn't matter. What I saw is what matters. And what I saw was an armed guards of DPS officers escorting the Buckinghams out of the CNMI in an attempt to flee the CNMI from a subpoena. That should upset everyone. That should upset anyone. That should have placed bias in anyone. And I just wanted to let that come up because of my credibility being raised and a bias being painted on me. Yeah, I am biased. When somebody breaks the law, I think they should answer to it. Especially public officials. And law enforcement shouldn't be protecting people from subpoenas. They should be issuing those subpoenas. And you know that, and we all know that. You're lawmakers. You all took that oath. So please, let's not go down a different tangent and try and intimidate me or suppress my... You called into question my credibility, and you painted me as being biased. So that's intimidating to me. And as I said, since that incident occurred, I've been living in fear. So maybe I'm a little sensitive. Not fear for myself, but for my loved ones. Like I said, I'm not a Superman. A bullet's going to kill me just as well as it'll kill anyone. I just wanted that clear.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Before we continue the discussion, I believe the legal counsel, rather than me rephrase what the legal counsel has said, I want to ask him again to state what he had just advised us. There's 2 parts to this. The first, if we were going to go to a vote, Counsel, why don't you go ahead and advise us again? Rep, if I do so, if it's about this, I saw other hands, so we're going to keep going back and forth. So I'm going to allow the counsel first. Hopefully he can address what you are about to ask. So first, counsel, please go ahead.
Chairman, I recommended that the committee vote on whether or not this issue is germane and relevant under the relevant statutes under Quick Analysis Title 1 of the Commonwealth Code, Section 1304 regarding testimony, states in 1304D, the presiding officer at a hearing may direct a witness to answer any relevant question or furnish any relevant book. It continues on. Unless the direction is overruled by a majority vote of the committee members present, disobedience shall constitute contempt. So, before he is asserting any legal defense or privilege, I believe it would be proper for this committee to determine whether or not the question is even relevant. And then at that point, the presiding officer, if he believes it's relevant or the vote says it's relevant, can take the appropriate action.
Members understand that? Okay, I am gonna allow Representative Guerrero and Representative Sablan, before we entertain any motion, if the committee so chooses, to determine whether the question that Representative Guerrero was asking is relevant to this matter. Go ahead, Representative.
Let me rephrase the question. Okay. Okay. What exactly did the person say to you? Your tip.
I received a tip that there was a chance the Buckinghams were attempting to flee the CNMI.
Okay. Was it through that same tip that you were advised about the subpoena?
Oh no, the subpoena was public knowledge. It was on the news that night. That they were attempting. I was actually surprised that he hadn't been subpoenaed yet. That's my real big concern. By that point, we're talking 3 a.m. The subpoena was released earlier that afternoon. Public knowledge was released earlier that afternoon. Everybody in the CNMI would have known that a subpoena was placed on the AG. That's pretty much breaking news. And it showed up as breaking news in the papers and on the KSPN report that night. And so it was surprising and alarming to me to find out that the subpoena had not been given to him up until that point. And that's why that tip was so important to me, important enough for me to go to the airport that morning. Because when something of that magnitude happens and a subpoena is supposed to be given to the highest law enforcement officer on our island, and he attempts to flee from it, that's of grave concern, and I think it's of concern to everyone. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't. So that was what I was told.
Yes, obviously, Mr. Hunter, it is of great concern. That's why we're having these proceedings. I'm not asking these questions to intimidate you, okay? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tie everything in together so that we can get to the truth. Do you know of the governor ordering this to happen? Do you know of anything along that line?
Thank you for the question. All I can bear witness to is what I saw that morning. And what I saw that morning was a group of armed officers in full uniform, the deputy commissioner himself, the captain of the ports police chief himself, the officers that were present, the governor's driver and bodyguard, also perhaps a police officer as well, escorting the Buckinghams through that gate. That's what I witnessed. Who ordered them? You know, I mean, that's something that this committee hopefully will decide on. But because of the levels of those officers involved and the authority, the law enforcement officials involved, one can only surmise or assume that, of course, there was, like, who else do they take orders from? Who else does the deputy commissioner take orders from? Who else does the governor's driver and bodyguard take orders from? I mean, you could say that they did it on their own volition, that they decided to wake up that morning to bring 4 cop cars and all those officers, all in uniform, all on duty, to the airport to escort Buckingham out of the Commonwealth. But I think that would be where you might want to call into question the credibility of whoever tries to tell you in this committee that. That might be where you really would want to look at their credibility and where their biases may lie. I stand to gain nothing.
Glenn, I think you're
point of
speculating.
order, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hunter, are you finished? So we can...
Well, I guess I was just responding to his question on whether or not I knew or had knowledge of the governor ordering them. I saw them do what they did, and I can only assume that they were, yeah.
Mr. Chair, again, point of order.
Point of order. Hold
I
on.
believe that,
Short recess.
Mr. Chair, I believe.
We're back on record. I'm sorry. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we're going above and beyond our duties as a committee. We have other witnesses that are forthcoming to answer the questions as to who made the order, whether they're immediate supervisor, their captains, their whoever they are. But those are questions that should be reserved to these other individuals. That's why we're here, to try and find out what exactly had transpired. That's why we're here, to try and find out whether government resources, government personnel on duty are using up public funds for the shielding of the former Attorney General, Mr. Buckingham. These are not questions that should be pointed at Mr. Hunter. And I ask that Congressman Guerrero refrain from asking such questions. Mr. Hunter does not know who ordered these individuals. But we will get to that point, and we will ask those questions as to who ordered these individuals. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Guerrero.
If I didn't ask the question, we wouldn't know the answer. If he had known something and we didn't ask the question, we wouldn't know the answer. Okay? We know that he knows nothing about the governor. Okay? Easy enough. Everything else besides that has been speculation.
Order, please, one at a time. Representative Guerrero. I believe our witness does want to respond, so we will allow him, but it's understood. The witness is not compelled to answer any question that he has no knowledge of, but because our witness is willing to respond, we will allow him to do so. Again, I remind the members, please, not only are we asking relevant questions to the articles, but also some relevancy toward the witnesses that we should be asking. Mr. Hunter, go ahead.
In regards to what I know about the governor and what I would like to share in response to that question is that I know that after this event occurred on that morning, and something that this panel might want to also highly consider, is that the governor to this date has not held the AG accountable for those actions that morning, or any of the officers or anyone else. So that's something you might want to keep in mind, or something that I do know of this governor. He actually accepted his rescinded resignation, and he allowed the AG to continue representing the CNMI as an AG after this incident occurred. So those are something, again, that this committee, and something that I know of this governor in his response to what we all saw, what we witnessed on the video, the more video footage you're going to see, the testimony you're going to receive, you're going to hear some things that are going to be unconscionable to you if they haven't to this point already been unconscionable to you. The governor's response to that is public knowledge, and his response was to accept the retraction of the AG from resigning, and to allow him to continue on to be our AG until he finally stopped weeks later, or whatever it was. So that's something to keep in mind as far as my knowledge of what the governor did.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any further questions? Okay, I think we're done with your testimony, Mr. Hunter. I will dismiss you, meaning that you may be called back with reasonable notice to answer any further questions that the committee may have. Please provide your contact to our Sergeant at Arms. I also want to thank you for your cooperation. Sarge, thank you. Members, before we go any further, we are nearing 1 o'clock, and the staff, I think, needs a break to have lunch. I wanted to ask whether the committee wants to continue through lunch, and at what point should we take a break, or should we break at, let's say, 1 o'clock, or after one more witness, and allow the witnesses also to be able to go out and get something to eat, and we can return in an hour or so. Vice.
Yes.